Hey folks, welcome back to Tech and More Tech. I'm Carlo, and this is the brand new Echo Show 10. As always, if you prefer a more detailed written version, head on over to techandmoretech.com or check the link in the description just below that like button. The new Echo Show 10 is the latest iteration of Amazon's smart display. It sports a completely new design with a fancy swiveling screen, updated hardware, and some new capabilities. I previously had the first generation Echo Show and have reviewed all the other ones as well, with a similar conclusion each time. The screen to me has always felt like an ancillary means of inputting information, but a fantastic way of getting information, whether it be the news, weather, or even just checking the status of your timers. I've always felt that the screen prompted me to interact with the device more. I've always liked the suggestions and the rotating stories that many people dislike about the Echo Shows. In comparison to the Nest Hub or even plain smart speakers, the Echo Show always gets the most use because there's always something that may prompt me to use it, which is not the case with the other devices. So let's go over all the new hardware, check out the new software, and determine whether or not you should buy one. The 2021 Echo Show 10 has turned away from the wedge-shaped design of its predecessor and smaller siblings, instead opting for a more rounded base with a screen connected by a rotating plastic ring around the top. Inside the new base, we have an all-new speaker setup, similar to the 4th gen Echo, with dual 1-inch tweeters and a 1 3-inch woofer. Overall, the sound is great. Alex is loud and clear, though it seems to be much more tuned for voice than for music. Perhaps it's a difference in material of what it's sitting on, but the bass wasn't nearly as prominent on the Echo Show as it was on the Echo 4. The screen is the same size and resolution as before, 10.1 inches, 1280 by 800. It's nice and vibrant with good viewing angles, and it also supports ambient color change, which is when the screen goes from a coolish blue to a warmish orange throughout the day, so it's easier on your eyes. The Echo Show 10 now has a custom Amazon co-processor dubbed the AZ1 for doing AI-based tasks. Amazon claims it has 20 times less power consumption, maybe for future mobile devices, up to 2 times faster speech processing, and 85% less memory usage. What this means for you is that Alex should be quicker to respond to your commands. To finish off the inside hardware, the Echo Show 10 also has a Zigbee hub built in, as well as support for Amazon Sidewalk. The materials of the Echo Show 10 are similar to that of most recent Echo and Echo Dot, which is to say it's a soft mesh fabric that looks and feels very nice. It's very fitting for modern home decor. As part of Amazon's initiative to be more green, the materials are 30% recycled plastics, 100% recycled fabric, and 100% recycled aluminum. Kudos to Amazon. The screen area has a couple buttons and features as well. On the top, we have a volume plus and minus button, as well as a microphone and camera mute button. We also have a physical slider to cover the camera, which I'm sure many will enjoy. Lastly, the whole device comes in either black or white. Setup is very straightforward and includes signing into your Amazon account, connecting to your Wi-Fi, and also setting up the Swivel. It will present you with 3 different options as to where the device will be located: centrally on an island, up against a wall, or in a corner. I've placed mine up against the wall where my previous Echo Show lived. Select your placement and it will do a quick range of motion check. I placed mine on the kitchen counter facing towards the rest of the kitchen and living area, so it rotated the screen until it hit the wall on either side and determined that that was the range of motion. If you want to change it, you can slide the bar to narrow or widen the range of motion, and next you will set the idle position. This is where the screen will return to after it hasn't been in use. Typically you want this in the direction that is most visible. If you want to change these parameters, you can do them after the fact in the settings and choose a new range of motion and a new idle spot. I don't like the way it's set up, as it's a bit of a trial and error way of doing it rather than the screen swiveling as you're moving around the limits. It's not the end of the world though, because you probably won't have to touch this setting very often, if at all. I want to first quickly point out that you don't need to have the screen swivel if you don't want to. You can disable it by either covering the camera, swiping down on the screen and disabling motion, asking Alex to disable motion, or disabling it in the Alex app. When it's all set up, it will carry the same settings that you had if you're upgrading from a previous Echo Show. If this is your first one, then you may want to go into the settings and set up your home screen. This is where you can choose what your home screen shows you. You can have it show things like the weather forecast, news, interesting stories, recipes, sports scores, Alex tips and tricks, etc. You can, of course, turn all that off. Well, almost. Even if you disable all of those settings, you will still have just the clock, but it will still show Alex for your day, which is a little graphic with things that Alex can do. I understand why it's there, but I really wish you could turn it off. A lot of people want to use these as like digital photo frames of their family and their friends, and now you're basically kind of getting an ad in between pictures of your grandkids, which no one wants. I personally keep several of these settings on, as I like to see the various news stories pop up, and it often prompts me to interact with the device. A new feature of the home screen though is the new split view. It happens on its own, but the screen can now split into 2 or even 3 segments, each displaying unique information. You can have the news on the left, and then it may show your upcoming calendar events and weather on the right. Not exactly revolutionary, but I appreciate the efficient use of space. I want to touch upon one more thing before we get to the screen, and that's the smart home dashboard. Remember how I just praised the split home screen for having an efficient use of space, like literally 10 seconds ago? Well, the smart home dashboard is the complete opposite of that. With this silly floating card-like design, it is neither easy nor efficient to use this interface to control any of your smart home. While it is noticeably quicker and smoother than previous Echo Show devices, it is just not a good use of space or a good UI for smart home. When we compare it to something like the Home app on the iPad or even Home Assistant dashboards, it's just much worse. I suspect this will be updated in due course, but of course, the sooner the better. Especially if Amazon plans to release a wall-mounted tablet for the smart home control. Okay, so let's finally talk about the Swiveling Screen. There are 3 instances in which the screen will follow you around, and they can be selected in the settings. You can have it follow you during all activities, during select activities, or on request. The difference between all activities and select activities is that select activities only include things like video playback and prompts that have a visual component to them. All activities will include things like setting timers or adding things to the grocery list, etc. Everything. Select activities may be a little bit confusing because you can't actually select which activities a setting applies to. So for example, you couldn't have Netflix follow you around but not Prime Video. Not a big deal, but something worth mentioning. The Swiveling Screen by design is a good idea in my opinion, but it is flawed in implementation. If you have all activities selected, it will immediately swivel towards you as soon as you start a command, and then it will follow you until the interaction or activity is over, or until you say, Alex, stop following. There are 2 main flaws that I have detected with the implementation. The first is that it does not differentiate between people. It uses the camera to track you around and swivel the screen, but if you have someone else walk by on the other side that is talking, it will move to follow them. If you have it facing a TV, oh boy, it will recognize the faces on the TV and the audio will also make it turn, so that's going to get pretty annoying. This is something that can improve over time with some more refining of the camera and the AI software. The second flaw is much more obvious and one that they can remedy pretty much immediately. Once a particular activity is complete and the screen doesn't need to follow you around anymore, it is supposed to go back to the idle state. At first, I thought my unit was defective because it did not seem to do that, but after some patient testing, it would go back to the idle position after about 15 minutes or so. 15 whole minutes! Most of my kitchen timers are 5 to 10 minutes, so if I set a timer and then go sit on my couch, the screen will still be facing the stove, and then I won't be able to see how much time is left at a glance like I usually can. And then the alarm will go off by the time the screen even swivels back towards me. There should be an option to select how long you want before the screen goes back to idle, because 15 minutes is just dumb. They could fix this with an instant OTA update, and I really hope they do, as it would make the overall experience infinitely better. The actual use cases of the following screen are maybe a little uncommon, but it is pretty nice anyways. If you're watching a video, following a recipe, or video chatting, then it's nice to have the screen always facing you. Video calls are also a lot nicer now for the person on the other end because the camera will track and zoom in to keep you in frame all the time. The Facebook portal was the first one to implement this using just software, but the extra swiveling hardware here makes it even better. When the Echo Show first came out, it had a drop-in feature that allowed you to basically start a video call with your Echo Show without having to respond on the Echo Show. It was partly designed to check in on your home while you're away, but also designed so you can drop in on your parents or grandparents without having them do anything. It came off a little creepy at first, but it was an opt-in feature, so it wasn't like a total invasion of privacy. The new Echo Show 10 takes it a step further with home monitoring, which essentially lets you use the Echo Show 10 camera as a security camera. You can pan the camera around and see what it sees, so no more house parties while the parents are out of town. It does at least tell you when it's on, so it's not completely creepy and invading your privacy, and it can even provide a time delay and a chime, so if someone's at the house, they are alerted to that the camera's turning on. What the camera cannot do is any sort of differentiation between people. It doesn't take your facial profile and provide contextual responses or automations based on that. You can set automations based on the presence detection, but not to a specific person, as it simply does not build a profile around that. As usual, if there is no presence detected or no activity working in the background, the screen will shut off completely to reduce power consumption. So all of this brings us to the golden question. Should you buy the new Echo Show 10? As always, we start with the price, which is $250. Overall, I think it's a good device with good features and great hardware. The Nest Hub Max is the nearest competition, but considering the different feature set, they're not quite so close to parity as it may seem. If you're not quite sure if you want or would get use out of the Swiveling Screen, you can get the previous Echo Show 10 or even the Echo Show 8 that have largely the same functionality at a lower price and size. Ultimately, the Swiveling Screen is a unique market feature. There's no other device that does this, so if you think it's a feature that would benefit you, then I would say yeah, go ahead and get the new Echo Show 10. I think you're going to be pleased with it. There's an affiliate Amazon link in the description below that helps me out as well if you do decide to buy it. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, be sure to like and subscribe button for plenty more videos to come. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below and I will get to them as best I can. And until next time, see ya.